I had built what I thought was a perfect marriage. For 10 years, I never forgot a birthday or an anniversary. I even dressed up as her favorite pianist to surprise her, and she cried in my arms, swearing she would only ever love me. To the world, I had a gentle, devoted wife and a respectable career as a surgeon. My life was flawless, but a 10-second video shattered that perfect facade. The timestamp, mocking my reputation as a steady lead orthopedic surgeon, read Mercy General Hospital, back alley. It turned out I was the only steady thing in our marriage. In the video, a woman in a cream white shirt dress smiled radiantly, while another man's arm was wrapped tightly around her waist. I watched their entire journey, from Starbucks to the Hilton Garden Inn, with perfect clarity. And when she came home, she could still make me soup and complain about how tiring tutoring was. In that instant, I realized that 10 years of devotion could be pulverized by 10 seconds of truth. Because I had finally learned how to send the person who betrayed me to hell, 1 inch at a time. The video was only 10 seconds long. But those 10 seconds destroyed a marriage I had spent a decade building. A colleague sent me the video. The timestamp was clear. Yesterday, 3:20 p.m. The location was the secluded alley behind Mercy General Hospital. In the video, the woman in the white shirt dress was my wife, Olivia Harper. The man beside her was the new gym teacher at her school, Jerry Ford. He taught at Brookfield High, right alongside her. The two of them were far too close in the video. The man's hand was clamped firmly around my wife's waist. I sat in my office, playing that 10-second clip over and over again. With each viewing, the sickening sense of absurdity grew stronger. No, this had to be a nightmare. It couldn't possibly be my Olivia. She had sworn to me, time and time again, that I was the only man she would ever love. But the woman in the video, her every smile and frown, the familiar, elegant way she turned, the cream white shirt dress she was wearing, every detail screamed a cruel truth at me. That was my wife. Dr. Lucas, there's a consult in the ER, a colleague said, knocking on the door and pulling me from my daze. I slammed my laptop shut, shoved my phone in a drawer, and stood up to leave. I didn't even remember to button my lab coat. Every ray of sunlight that touched my skin felt like a needle. It was a beautiful afternoon, yet I felt as if someone had just shoved me into a bottomless abyss. My hands were still shaking. I have no idea how I made it through that emergency surgery. Fortunately, years of professional instinct are carved into your very bones. When I finally came to my senses, I realized the surgery had been performed flawlessly. Dr. Lucas, you're as composed as ever in the OR, a young nurse complimented me with a bright smile. I couldn't help but ask her, was there anything different about me during the operation today? Not at all. Steady as a rock, like always, she answered brightly. That kind of orthopedic reconstruction usually takes 2 hours. You did it in 1. She gave me a thumbs up. Dr. Lucas, you're in a league of your own. I pulled the corner of my mouth into a pained, bitter smile. I had no idea where that composure had come from. Just like any other day, I headed home after my shift, a little earlier than usual. I just wanted to see if Olivia would betray even the slightest hint of guilt. As soon as I opened the front door, the rich aroma of dinner wafted from the kitchen. My wife was in there, making me soup. Hearing the door open, she walked out of the kitchen carrying a dish and set on the table. Home so early today? She asked casually. I ignored her question and looked straight at her. Weren't you supposed to be tutoring today? How did you get back so early? Her expression was perfectly natural, her composure unshakable. We finished up early. The kids have a strong foundation, so they only needed a few intensive sessions. She paused, then added casually, oh, by the way, I ran into Mr. Thompson at Brookfield High today. He mentioned wanting to grab coffee with you and asked when you might be free. I stared directly into her eyes, searching every inch of them for the slightest change. A flicker of guilt, a moment of avoidance, anything. But there was only the same gentle affection I always saw there. Not a single crack in her facade. During dinner, she served me food, just as she always did, meticulously removing the bones from my fish. This picture of domestic bliss was so perfect it made me want to vomit, because before I came home, I had already asked someone to pull the security footage from the afternoon. Not just to the alley from yesterday, but footage from today as well. The footage showed that my wife hadn't gone to any tutoring session. She had left Brookfield High early. And there, on that same secluded path, the camera caught her walking with that gym teacher. She was glowing, completely lost in a state of pure joy. I knew that smile all too well. It was the same one she used to give me when we first fell in love. Only now, that smile belonged to another man. "Honey, why aren't you eating? Are you feeling all right?" she asked, her voice soft. "I'll just have a little. Probably just tired from surgery today," I replied vaguely. "I'm full. I'm going to go upstairs and rest." "Let me make you some tea then." "It might help," she offered, starting to get up. "Don't worry about it. You finish your dinner." I didn't give her another glance as I turned and went upstairs. The light from the desk lamp cast a dim glow across the study. I sat in my office chair, letting the tearing sensation churn in my chest again and again. The pain was excruciating, but it brought with it a terrible clarity. The wife I had loved for 10 years had betrayed me. Like most people, I never thought infidelity was something that would happen to me. It wasn't arrogance. As an orthopedic surgeon with a stable career, I understood the value of investment and return. I cherished Olivia. I cherished our marriage, and every moment we had shared building the life we had. We hadn't had a single major fight in 10 years. I had poured all of my patience and tenderness into cultivating our relationship. So when she told me she wanted to become a high school teacher, I gave her my unconditional support. She loved teaching, loved being around young people. She said it kept her feeling young at heart. I completely agreed. I treated her like a queen. I never missed a birthday. Every year, I would go to great lengths to come up with a new surprise for her. The year before last, for instance, I secretly dressed up as her favorite pianist and, at the end of a small recital, played her favorite piece just for her. When it was over, she threw herself into my arms and cried for a long time, saying through her sobs that marrying me was the luckiest thing that had ever happened to her. But looking back on it now, I can't help but wonder how many of those tears were real. Sitting alone in the dark room, the thought nearly drove me mad. I don't know how long I sat there before a soft knock came at the door. "Honey, are you still working? Can I get you some milk?" I took a deep breath, forcing down the emotions churning inside me. "No, I'm about to turn in." She lingered in the doorway. "You seem a little off tonight. Did something happen at work?" "No, just tired." "Well, get some rest then. Don't overdo it." Her voice was as gentle as always. "I'm going to take a shower." The word shower felt like a spike driven straight into my heart. Before, the thought would have never crossed my mind. But now, everything was different. I couldn't stop an image from replaying in my head. Her try to wash away the scent of another man. I pushed the bedroom door open slightly. In the quiet of the night, the sound of a shower was piercingly clear. I picked up her phone from the nightstand. The passcode was still our anniversary. That at least hadn't changed. I scrolled through her call history, her texts, and opened every single iMessage conversation. Everything was too normal. So clean it felt intentional, as if she knew I'd look and had already wiped away any incriminating evidence. But I knew an affair always leaves a trail. I sat down on my computer and accessed her cloud backup. Within minutes, I had everything. She had a hidden account she used almost every day for the sole purpose of talking to him. Jerry Ford. It was filled with disgustingly intimate conversations, explicit declarations, and photos. This was clearly not a new affair. Based on the chat logs, they had been seeing each other since last month. This Jerry guy was a new 10th grade gym teacher, a former state-level athlete, I'd heard. He was young and good-looking, and had quickly become something of a heartthrob among the students. They met at a Brookfield high-faculty sports event. Jerry approached her first. A few casual lines were all it took for my wife to be completely taken in by his slick charm. I read through their entire chat history from beginning to end. The flirtatious messages made me grind my teeth so hard I thought they would crack. But I knew this wasn't the time to confront her. I backed up every piece of evidence without missing a single file. Then I placed her phone back on the nightstand and pretended to be sound asleep. When she came out of the shower, she smelled of her usual body wash. She slipped into bed beside me, careful not to make a sound, as if she were afraid of waking me. Her warm fingers brushed gently against my forehead. Sleep well, my love. I didn't sleep for a second that night. My eyes were closed, but my mind was racing, waiting to see what her next move would be. Sure enough, the next day, she used tutoring as an excuse to go see him again. Are you tutoring those kids again today? I asked at breakfast, feigning nonchalance. I mentioned their mock SATs are next week, and the kids are really stressed, she said, carefully touching up her makeup in the mirror. I won't be home too late, though. Okay, I said, my voice even. Try to be back early. She nodded. I know. Do you have surgery today? 2 of them scheduled? She asked, looking up at me with a concerned expression. Don't wear yourself out. She reached out to straighten my tie, her touch as gentle as ever. You've looked so exhausted recently. I forced the corners of my mouth into a smile. Well, that's why I have you to take care of me, isn't it? She stiffened for a fraction of a second, as if my words had struck a nerve. Then, just as quickly, she forced a smile. Of course. I'm your wife, after all. But is your heart really here with me? The question echoed in my head again and again. I watched her walk out the door, waiting until it clicked shut behind her. Then I picked up my phone and sent a text. Follow her again today. Get everything on camera. The reply came back almost instantly. No problem, Dr. Lucas. You can count on me. That day, I went into surgery at my scheduled time. Every cut was clean, every move precise. No one noticed anything was wrong. But I knew the truth. My heart was bleeding out. I opened the live video feed my colleague had sent. On the screen, she wasn't tutoring. She was sitting with him in a quiet corner of a Starbucks, laughing as they talked. He kept reaching across the table to touch her hand, and she never once pulled away. She looked at him with an expression of pure adoration. He'd say something, anything, and she would light up, smiling like the sun had come out just for her. It was a beautiful scene. They looked like a pair of young lovers, completely infatuated with each other. But for me, every single frame was another knife twisting in my chest. I closed the video feed and forced myself to focus on a patient's chart. A nurse organizing files nearby suddenly sighed. Dr. Lucas, your wife is just the best. Every time you get blood on your scrubs, she washes and irons them by hand until they look brand new. We're all so jealous you have such a wonderful wife. Yes, I said, forcing a rigid smile. Igosaimal lukiman. But right then, that luck, that happiness, sounded like a sick joke. I couldn't stop myself from pulling out my phone and opening the video feed again. And then I saw it. In that instant, my heart seized. He leaned across the table and kissed her, and my wife didn't push him away. Instead, she wrapped her arms around his neck and deepened the kiss. I stared at the painfully familiar face on the screen. My vision went black, and the entire office started to spin. I lurched to my feet, my legs unsteady beneath me. I had to brace myself against the wall as I stumbled toward the bathroom. The moment I stumbled into a stall, I began to retch violently, heaving until my stomach was completely empty. It took a long time for the shaking to finally subside. The face staring back at me from the mirror was ashen, almost unrecognizable. I twisted the faucet and splashed cold water on my face again and again, forcing myself to get a grip. Then I took out my phone again and pulled up the live feed. They weren't at the Starbucks anymore. Keep following them. I ordered into the phone in a low voice. A few minutes later, a text came through. They just went into the Hilton Garden Inn. My hand was trembling so hard I could barely hold the phone. I wished it was all a misunderstanding, that I was just imagining things. But the evidence in front of me was undeniable. I had my contact find out their room number at the Hilton Garden Inn, then I called Olivia. Hey, honey, she answered. Even through the phone, I could hear the thin veil of panic in her voice. How's the tutoring session going? I asked. It's going fine, she stammered. They're doing great. That's good, I said, my voice unnaturally calm. When do you think you'll be home? Soon. It'll be over soon, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper, as if she was conscious of someone else in the room. We're just about finished here. All right, drive safe on your way home. I hung up and sent another text to my contact. Watch that room. Let me know the second they leave. An hour and a half later, I watched the monitor as the two of them walked out of the Hilton Garden Inn, looking perfectly composed. A wave of bitter absurdity washed over me. This felt like a plot from some cheap soap opera, but it was my life. I let out a long, slow breath and opened the tracking software I had installed on her phone. I saw the iMessage she had just sent. "Husband's calling, have to go. Talk later." Jerry's reply came instantly. "Couldn't stop thinking about you, baby. You were stunning today." A sharp pain throbbed in my temples, but I forced the rage back down. It wasn't time. I needed more evidence. When I had everything I needed, I would make sure neither of them ever knew peace again. Not long after that, Olivia came home. She looked exhausted, but her eyes held a hidden glimmer of excitement. "Why so late?" I asked, taking her purse and handing her a glass of water. "The students were having an off day, really distracted, so we ran late," Olivia said, taking a sip of water. Her tone was casual. "Did you eat?" she asked offhandedly. "Yeah, a colleague brought me something." I looked her in the face and asked quietly, "How about you? Did you eat?" "I ate over by the school," she said, setting her glass down. "I'm going to go take a shower." With that, she hurried into the bathroom. I stood outside the bathroom door, listening to the rush of the water, and a wild urge surged within me. I wanted to storm in there, wrap my hands around her throat, and demand to know why she was doing this to me. But I held myself back. It wasn't the right time. I was going to make her understand, slowly, the true cost of her betrayal. I turned and went back to my study, pretending to work on patient files just like any other night. The next morning, I went to work as usual. Just before noon, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. I answered. A man's voice said, "Dr. Lucas?" "Hi, my name is Jerry. I'm a colleague of Olivia's, the gym teacher." His voice was smooth and polite, nothing like the man I'd seen with his hands all over my wife. "I was wondering if you were free for lunch. I'd like to meet with you." I laughed coldly to myself. What was this new act? "What about?" I asked coolly. "Well, Brookfield High is organizing an interscholastic tournament, and we were hoping to invite you to be one of the judges. What do you think?" His tone was casual, as if it were just a passing thought. "Would you be interested?" Of course. I agreed immediately. "Great. How about this afternoon?" "My treat. We can discuss the details over lunch." "Fine. Send me the address." After hanging up, I couldn't suppress a cold, quiet laugh. The man had some nerve, proactively asking to meet me. He had no idea I already knew everything about his filthy affair with Olivia. I arrived at the restaurant right on time. He had chosen a nice, fairly expensive restaurant. "Dr. Lucas, it's an honor to finally meet you," he said, standing to greet me with a smooth, natural confidence. "I've heard Olivia talk about you so much at Brookfield. She says you're the top orthopedic surgeon at Mercy General." We shook hands. "Mr. Ford, you're too kind. I hear you used to be a state-level athlete." "That's right," he said with a humble smile. "After I retired, I wanted something a little more stable, so I went into teaching." We sat down and ordered our food. He was a smooth talker, articulate and charming, dropping in just the right compliments at just the right time. The kind of person who knows exactly how to win people over. I played along, pretending to know nothing, making idle chit-chat. "By the way," he asked suddenly, "I hear you and Olivia were college sweethearts." "That's right," I said with a smile. "We've been together for almost 10 years now." "That makes sense," he nodded. "Olivia mentions you often. She always says how good you are to her." "Oh, really? She talks about me a lot at school." "Absolutely," he said, his expression perfectly composed. "She says you're a wonderful husband, completely devoted." I raised my wine glass. "Mr. Ford, a toast." "Of course," he said, smiling as he lifted his own glass. "Though I have to admit, I'm a bit of a lightweight." "Not a problem. Just enjoy." The glasses clinked together with a sharp, clean sound. His gaze was direct, unwavering. Not a hint of guilt or shame. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How could someone like him sit across from me, eating and making small talk, without a care in the world? After we finished, I suggested we split the bill, but he insisted on paying. "Dr. Lucas, you're my senior. I couldn't possibly let you pay." I didn't bother to argue with him. As we were leaving, he smiled and said, "You should come down to Brookfield and shoot some hoops sometime." "Sure, when I get the chance," I answered with a smile of my own. As I watched his back disappear into the distance, the warmth in my eyes slowly turned to ice. It wouldn't be long before he wouldn't be smiling anymore. Back at Mercy General, I began to formulate a plan to make them both pay dearly. I compiled every piece of evidence I had, the videos, the chat logs, the security footage, and I had multiple copies made of everything. I would personally drive them into a corner and watch them crumble in despair. When I got home that night, Olivia already had dinner on the table. "How was your day?" she asked as she ladled soup into my bowl. "It was fine," I said, taking a sip of soup. "I actually met that colleague of yours today, Jerry." Her hand visibly flinched. "Jerry?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "What did he want to see you about?" "He took me to lunch. Said Brookfield is hosting an interscholastic tournament, something like the NCAA, and wanted me to be a judge." I looked up, my eyes fixed on her. "What do you think of that?" That sounds great," she said, her eyes cast downward. "You work so hard. It would be nice for you to relax a little." I smiled. "Sounds like you have a nice atmosphere at your school." The teachers all seemed to get along well. Her expression tightened for a moment. "It's fine. Everyone is pretty friendly." "Oh, and Jerry mentioned you talk about me a lot at school." With a clatter, her fork fell from her hand and hit the floor. He said that?" I don't really remember." "Why so tense?" I asked, bending down to pick up the fork and handing it back to her. "It's not like it's a big deal. Why would that make you nervous?" "I'm not nervous," she said, forcing a smile. "Just tired, I guess." "Then you should get to bed early," I said flatly. "I still have some work to finish up." She was visibly relieved. "Okay, well, don't stay up too late." As I watched her turn and leave, I knew it was almost time to make my move. I didn't play my hand just yet. I continued to gather evidence. For an entire week, I had them followed. Every secret rendezvous, from the Starbucks to the Hilton Garden Inn, was documented. I even paid off a front desk clerk at the Hilton to get copies of their check and records. I even managed to get audio recordings of them in bed together. I wanted to leave them speechless, with so much irrefutable proof they would have no way out. That afternoon, I came home early. The house was empty. Olivia was out again for another one of her trysts. I sat in the living room and waited as the sky outside grew dark. At around 7, she finally walked through the door. She jumped when she saw me, sitting there in the darkness. "Honey, why are you sitting here in the dark?" I flicked on the switch of a nearby lamp, bathing the room in a warm yellow light. "I was waiting for you." "Why are you home so early?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I wanted to surprise you," I said calmly. "Come here. Did your tutoring session go well?" "It was, fine." "Is that right? Then let's take a look at how you tutored." I pulled my phone from my pocket and played video. On the screen, she and Jerry were in the Starbucks, holding each other in a tight, intimate embrace. Her body trembled. "Honey, I can explain." "Explain what?" I sneered. "Explain how you've been cheating on me behind my back." I threw a stack of printed evidence onto the coffee table. The videos, the chat logs, the security stills. She sank onto the sofa, her face a deathly pale. "Lucas, I'm so sorry." She suddenly dropped to her knees in front of me. "I know I was wrong. Please, just forgive me this once, please." I stared down at her, my expression like ice. "Forgive you? Do you really think that's still a possibility?" "I really know I was wrong," she sobbed, clinging to my leg, her voice shaking. "I don't want Jerry. I only want you. Please, just give me one more chance." I shoved her away. "A chance? Do you deserve one?" I threw a stack of papers in front of her. "Sign them. We're getting a divorce." "No," she shrieked, grabbing the papers and frantically ripping them to shreds. "I don't want a divorce. Honey, it was my fault. I wasn't thinking straight. Hit me, scream at me, do whatever you want, just please don't divorce me." I let out a harsh laugh. "You really think I'm going to stay married to a cheating wife?" Tears streamed down her face as she sobbed, gasping for breath. "I know I was wrong. I swear. Please believe me. I'll never, ever do it again." I played an audio file. It was a recording of her and Jerry in bed. In the recording, she told Jerry that he was the one she truly loved, that I was just a habit, that only he could give her the kind of passion she'd never felt before. She looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. She collapsed to the floor, all the color draining from her face. That's not true," she mumbled, as if to herself. Then what is the truth? I asked, looking down at her, my voice like ice. While you were betraying me, did you spare a single thought for me? Lucas, I know I was wrong. I swear, she pleaded, still clinging to my leg. I'll do anything, anything at all, just don't divorce me. I kicked her away. Just looking at you makes me sick. I pulled out another copy of the divorce papers and threw it in front of her. Sign it. No, she whispered, her eyes wide with terror, as if she were looking at a ghost. You can't. Then you'd better sign it, I said with a cold smile. Or do you really think Brookfield High will want to keep a teacher who sleeps with her coworkers? She was shaking uncontrollably. Lucas, how could you become so cruel? Who do you think made me this way? I shot back, each word a piece of ice. I sneered. Olivia, you've really got some nerve. You're the one who pushed me to this, and now you have the audacity to blame me. She was sobbing, gasping for air. Lucas, please, just let me explain. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You didn't mean to? My laughter was colder than the grave. What? Did he force you into bed? I just wasn't thinking clearly. Not thinking clearly? I turned on the projector and displayed all the evidence on the living room wall. The chat logs, the security stills, the footage of them going in and out of the hotel. Take a good long look. Is all of this what happens when you're not thinking clearly? She stared at the images on the wall, her body shaking with uncontrollable sobs as she completely fell apart. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please, just forgive me this once. I swear I'll never do it again. I looked at her, my voice devoid of all emotion. Do you really think that's a possibility? I threw the papers in front of her again. Sign them, or you'll pay an even heavier price. Her hand shaking, she picked up the pen. You're really throwing me out? What else did you expect? I sneered. For you to stay here and make me sick to my stomach every day? She could barely speak through her tears. Lucas, we've been together for 10 years. 10 years, I nodded. Yes, 10 years. And look at how you've repaid me. She buried her face against my leg, her voice trembling. Please, just give me one more chance. I'll do anything. Anything, I sneered. Would you die for me? She froze. Lucas, how can you say something like that? Why can't I? I stared at her, my words like daggers. When you were sleeping with him behind my back, did you ever stop to think about how I would feel? She was hysterical now, her voice raw and hoarse from crying. It was my fault. I'm the one who's worthless. I was wrong. I kicked her away again. Sign it. She lay on the floor, shaking uncontrollably. Lucas, you really don't want me anymore? What do you think? I sneered. Why would I keep a worthless tramp like you around? She covered her face with her hands, her body curling into a ball in agony. How can you talk to me like that? Was I wrong? I held the phone in front of her face. Listen to yourself. These are your words. Her voice came through the speaker, crystal clear. Jerry, you're the one I really love. She clapped her hands over her ears, completely breaking down. Stop it. Please turn it off. What? Does the sound of your own voice make you sick? I sneered. You didn't seem too disgusted with yourself when you were saying it. She lay curled on the floor, rocking back and forth in pain, whispering, I'm sorry, over and over again. Don't say you're sorry to me. I threw the pen down in front of her. Sign it. Her hand shaking, she picked up the pen. Her voice trembled. You're really not going to give me another chance? Do you really think that's a possibility? I said, my gaze cold. Sign it now while I still have some patience left. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. Lucas, I really do love you. Love me? I laughed. Is sleeping with another man your way of showing it? She collapsed onto the floor like a deflated balloon. I know I was wrong. Sign, I said, cutting her off. I didn't want to hear another word. Finally, she signed her name on the divorce papers. Now, she asked, can I go to our room and pack my things? There's no need, I said with a cold smile. I've already thrown all of your things out. Now get out. Lucas, she began, her voice hoarse. I cut her off. Don't call me that. The sound of you calling me your husband makes me sick. She staggered to her feet. Then, I'll go. Wait, I called out. She stopped and looked back at me, her whole body shaking. What else do you want? Nothing, I said, a cold, empty smile on my face. I just wanted to let you know, this is only the beginning. She stared at me, her eyes wide with terror. What do you mean? You'll find out soon enough, I said coldly. Now, get out. I watched as she stumbled away, a pathetic, broken figure, and I knew my revenge was just getting started. The next morning, my phone was blowing up. Every call was about Olivia. Apparently, all the evidence had gone viral online. The videos, the chat logs, the hotel records, everything. Overnight, she became known all over town as the cheating teacher. The man didn't fare any better. All of his dirty secrets were dragged out into the open. It turned out Olivia wasn't the first married woman he'd preyed on. He had a history of affairs with married women. Someone even dug up a sexual harassment allegation from his time as a state athlete. Brookfield High fired him that same day. Olivia was suspended pending an investigation. Dr. Lucas, are you okay? A colleague asked me carefully. I'm fine, I said with a smile. Some things are just bound to happen. I continued with my work as usual. I performed surgeries, did my rounds, and saw my patients. But everyone knew. My wife had cheated on me, and that man's life in this city was over. That night, I got an iMessage from Olivia. Lucas, you did this, didn't you? I didn't answer. A few moments later, she called. I declined it. A text message popped up immediately after. Please, just let this go. I know I was wrong. A cold smile touched my lips as I typed my reply. This is only the beginning. She replied instantly. What do you want from me? Didn't you say you'd do anything? I typed. Then just sit back and watch. She didn't text back after that. I knew she must be panicking. And this was still just the start. The next day, I had someone leak the more damning evidence, including the audio recordings from the hotel room. The entire city exploded. Oh my God, did she really say Jerry was better in bed than her husband? She has no shame. I heard her husband is a great catch. He's handsome, an attending surgeon at Mercy General. He's got everything. And she threw it all away for a gym teacher. A woman like that deserves everything she gets. Public opinion turned against her overnight. The whole city was talking about her affair, calling her shameless and worse. She texted me, please stop leaking things. I can't take this anymore. I wrote back, you can't take it? Funny, you seem to be handling it just fine when you were cheating on me. She replied immediately, I was wrong, okay? I was so wrong. I'll do whatever you want, just please let me go. I typed back with a cold smile. Anything? Then why don't you just go die? This time, she didn't answer. But I knew she must be on the verge of a complete breakdown, which was exactly what I wanted. She had dragged my life through hell. I was simply returning the favor. 2 days later, she showed up at Mercy General to see me. She looked like a ghost, standing in the doorway of my office with red, swollen eyes. Lucas, get out, I said without looking up. Please, just let me go. She choked out between sobs. I know I was wrong. You know you were wrong? I sneered. So what do you want now? My forgiveness. I wouldn't dare, she said, her head hung low. I'm just begging you, please stop leaking things. Why should I stop? I said, looking up at her. Isn't it better for everyone to know exactly what kind of person you are? I can't take it anymore, she whispered, suddenly dropping to her knees, her voice shaking. Please, just let me go. If you can't take it, then die, I said coldly. A person like you doesn't deserve to be alive anyway. She flinched. You've really changed. Yes, I have, I said, standing up and walking over to loom over her. Now, why don't you tell me who made me this way? She covered her face with her hands and broke down completely. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Get out, I said. I never wanted to see her again. Don't ever let me see your face again. She stumbled to her feet and shuffled out of my office like a lost soul. I knew she was close to her breaking point, but still wasn't enough. I wanted her to taste every last bitter drop of the pain she had caused me. Just then, I received a text message. The man had run. He had taken all of her money and disappeared into thin air. A cold smile played on my lips. He was just the gutless coward I expected him to be. Moments later, my phone started ringing. It was Olivia calling me frantically. Lucas, Jerry's gone. He took all of my money. I hung up on her. A text came through immediately after. Please help me. I have no one else to turn to. I texted back. Isn't this for the best? It's karma, and it came for you quickly. This time, she didn't reply, but I could imagine it perfectly. She must have hated that man with every fiber of her being, and she must have hated me just as much. Let her stew in that hatred. It was exactly what I had wanted. 10 years later, I got the news. Olivia had killed Jerry. It turned out he hadn't gone far. For 10 years, he'd been hiding out in a cheap Motel 6. She found him. She stabbed him 17 times with a paring knife. Then she jumped from the roof of the building and died instantly. Before she died, she sent me one last text message. Husband, I finally realized how wrong I was. But it's too late now. I'm so sorry. In the next life, I promise I won't do it again. I was in the middle of a surgery when I got the text. The hand holding the scalpel didn't so much as twitch. After the surgery, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror and looked at the cold, unfamiliar face staring back at me. I couldn't tell if I was laughing or crying. 10 years of my life, over just like that. My wife was dead. The other man was dead. It was a fitting end for both of them. I was packing up my things, getting ready to leave, when a nurse hurried over to me. Dr. Lucas, are you okay? I'm fine, I said with a smile. Life goes on. I was driving home when I passed a flower shop. I remembered, suddenly, that Olivia's favorite flowers had been white roses. I didn't stop the car. She no longer deserved to receive flowers from me. When I got home, I turned on all the lights. The house still smelled faintly of her. I shook my head, walked over to the windows, and opened them one by one, letting in the cool, fresh air. The past was the past. I would be fine without her. That night, I slept more soundly than I had in years. It was as if a great weight had finally been lifted from my chest. 3 years passed quickly. I opened my own private practice in a new city. Business was good. I had a steady stream of patients every day. I was still the same gentle, patient Dr. Lucas. No one knew about my past. No one knew I had ever been married. One day, a beautiful young woman came into my clinic. She said she'd been referred by a former patient who had praised my skill and my bedside manner. During the exam, I caught her sneaking glances at me. I suppose she found me attractive. I just offered a polite, professional smile, wrote out her prescription, and handed her the chart. She walked to the door, then turned back suddenly. Doctor, could I get your number? Maybe add you on iMessage. I'm sorry, I said, my professional smile still in place. I don't give my personal contact information to patients. She was clearly disappointed, but she managed to smile anyway. Okay, well, I'll see you at my next appointment. After she left, I opened the window and lit a cigarette. I stared out at the endless stream of cars and people below. I suddenly felt that the world was a surprisingly beautiful place. No betrayal, no pain, just me. And that was more than enough. Lucas, a meticulous orthopedic surgeon, believed he had a perfect 10-year marriage until a 10-second video revealed his wife Olivia's affair with a colleague, Jerry. Instead of confronting her, Lucas's professional calm masks a chillingly methodical plan for revenge. He gathers irrefutable evidence, videos, recordings, and hotel logs, while feigning ignorance, before systematically destroying her life. After forcing a divorce, he leaks everything online, turning Olivia into a public pariah and leading to her lover abandoning her. The relentless campaign culminates a decade later when Olivia murders Jerry and takes her own life, leaving Lucas a final, remorseful message. Unmoved, Lucas rebuilds his life in solitude, finding a cold peace in a new city, forever walled off from the possibility of future betrayal.